Sorry if you can hear my air conditioner. There's an extreme heat warning going on in Ohio right now, okay? What? Please tell me I'm recording audio. Please tell me I'm recording audio. Yes, I am. Good. With this, we have them push into Angola and the DRC, continuing with almost all of Angola being completely captured and only this part remaining. It is eventually captured by Zambia troops, and the country falls, except for it's like 2% of land basically on its exclave. Well, I should say the 2% of land that's remaining on the exclave, but whatever. With this, yeah, the rest of the exclave is eventually captured, leading to the complete fall of Angola. Back over in East Africa, Nigeria, being one of the main powers of Africa, is able to push back troops of the West African Federation. I keep saying East. Why do I do this? With the buildup of troops, we see it being completely separated into two, and the invasion continuing. Once Liberia is starting to be threatened, though, we have the USA showing up to support its former colony. Eventually, the USA is able to push into Nigeria, although it's not too big, as it's not the main goal of the US's army right now. The main goal is on Europe and sending troops into the Middle East to capture Baghdad for the second time in history. Speaking of Baghdad, U.S. troops finally arrive in the Middle East, meaning for a full-scale war. Israel is Israel, so they are just an absolute shadow when it comes to military, and they're able to take out all of northern Syria with the SDF. Jordan and Israel further push into the country. And I know some people are going to say that Jordan should be on the red side. You could say that, but they're not. They're not the chillest with the U.S. Not the chillest with Iraq. I almost said Africa. Like, I get I'm American, but I'm not that bad. But so yeah, I just kind of put them on the blue side. Eventually, we see Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Jordan, Israel, and the SDF all pushing it into Iraq. That was a mouthful. And with this, U.S. troops demand that they are the ones to capture Baghdad for reasons. And first this happens, and we see the complete fall of the Iraqi government and a surrender, only being held out by Iranian troops. Eventually, we see a bulge pushing into Iran, capturing the capital of the Caspian Sea, and linking up with Turkish and Azerbaijani and Georgian troops. A naval invasion is made from the UAE, and Iran continues to fall. We have the Insinuating push, and Iran continues surrender. Consider surrendering, although they don't. Eventually, the country surrenders, being held off by Central Asian troops. USA decides to invade Afghanistan for the third time in history at this point, I think. Yeah, third time. And they're able to wipe out the country, even though it wasn't in the war. They just did this because. Now, I know some of you are going to say, didn't they literally just lose? Well, no, in this timeline, it's an actual government. It's not a group now, I guess you could say, so that's how. We have the push across from the two stands over here, leading to a large encirclement. Now this is somewhat overestimating the U.S. and Arabian military, but yeah, whatever. The plan to liberate Kyrgyzstan is activated, and we can see the country being split into two, pushing into the ports controlled by the rest of the stands. There's a lot of stands, okay. They stand for stand. We stand for standy stand made of the stands, yeah. Back over in Siberia, Russia actually starts to care when the US starts to capture its northern territory after some naval invasions and the good old island hopping. Finnish troops blitz through the rest of northern Russia to meet up with US troops, and Mongolia is almost encircled, but the Gobi Desert continues to stop this. China goes on a counteroffensive, being able to push some of the U.S. troops out with Russia's help. China then tries to launch an invasion into Manchukuo, which is successful, being able to split the forces into two, although they control most of the sea over here. The continuing invasion into China is successful, mainly with Japanese and U.S. forces. Hong Kong and Macau are instantly instantly liberated, and Vietnam goes for its own personal glory by invading China. So, yeah, China's getting some real PTSD here. And if you think I'm underestimating the Chinese military, oh boy, you should see them. We see India launching a small invasion into China, which is able to take over parts of the outer Kashmir and Tibet. India has a plan to try to help out China's invasion being on a more scale. Most countries know about the Uyghur genocide, but just to prove it to everyone, India sends in a large amount of forces through the mountains. Eventually, one of the concentration camps is eventually found, and with this, China is completely exposed and outsited from the rest of the neutral countries. Eventually, they're able to encircle almost all of Tibet. Bhutan is even able to make a small invasion into China, although it's not much, and Nepal does the exact same. Over in Myanmar, China decides that's now or never to launch an invasion of India, so they do just that. They launch one into Bangladesh and one into northeastern India, and it goes very well. China focuses some troops up, and they continue to invade the countries. Bangladesh is almost completely rolled over, and it's surrendered with only Indian troops holding the line. They go down through the coastal areas of India, where there's not much population, and capture Sri Lanka. The Tamil kings are captured for about 6 seconds until they're completely pushed back, and Sri Lanka is mostly liberated. I'm gonna give China a little more of that. With this, it's not going too well for the red team. So they decide to launch a plan. Russia gathers its troops once again and pushes into Moldova and Romania, out through Ukraine. Eventually, we see Bulgaria and this area being cut off from the rest of Europe. Although they could always just turn to Turkey, which is what they do. Some troops escape through the Black Sea, so Russia literally just bombs the ships, because why not? Russia invades Greece, which would have been harder, but Turkish troops literally could not care less, so they kind of let that happen. Albania is pushed into as Russia rules over some of the smaller Balkan countries. Eventually, we see the invasion of Serbia starting to liberate the country, and it is split into two. Back over in the Baltics, we see Russia's continuing invasion, being able to cut off the Baltics from each other, the line going through Lithuania and Latvia. Although they continue to lose land up in the Northern Territory to Finland and the USA. USA goes down to try to cut off Russia, although they're eventually stopped by Central Asian forces who start to kick them out. Russia is then able to cut off these troops from each other, and Finland starts to starve out a little. Well, a large amount of Finnish troops are in this line, and Russia cuts that off so they can starve. Eventually, they even take control of the sea areas over there, just in case the USA tries to resupply them by the waters. And Pakistan decides to go on their own offensive, launching one into India. Although they clearly don't have their priorities set straight, considering that the USA is really right at their doorstep, but whatever. Eventually, Pakistan did this mainly to protect its capital of Islamabad, as they're at a current threat. Eventually, we see the complete cutoff of Indian troops that are eventually encircled.